Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is supposed to take place at some point in late 2023, but I believe that we will not see McGregor versus Chandler, at least not this year. And I also believe that there is a very high probability that we see Conor McGregor in BKFC. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And we're going to take a look at a couple clips of Conor McGregor at BKFC this past weekend for the Mike Perry versus Luke Rockhold fight. We're going to take a look at him squaring off with Mike Perry inside the ring. But I believe this Conor McGregor situation is so tricky. And then also you have like behind the scenes stuff going on with Conor McGregor and USADA and the UFC that the MMA media just flat out isn't covering. And a lot of fans are wondering what's going on with Conor McGregor. When's this fight announcement coming? So we're going to discuss it all in this video. And I also have a couple theories about what could be on the horizon for Conor McGregor's future. So first off, you go back to February 4th of 2023. The UFC announced that we will have Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler as the coaches on The Ultimate Fighter. Typically what happens is they record the show. After the show, they have the fight, because they build up the fight during the show. They also want to build prospects on the show, but the point is to have the coaches fight at the end of the show. Well, the show was announced in February. The show's since been recorded and is done. It's in the editing process, and supposedly it will air May 30th through August 15th, but we still don't have a fight announcement. We still don't know when are we getting Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, which is very odd because the UFC usually likes to capitalize on all the press from The Ultimate Fighter to then announce the fight and build the hype for the fight 6, 9, 10 months out. The UFC's done that plenty of times in the past where they like to build a fight. I remember one point in time, I don't remember the exact, dates, but they announced Anthony Pettis versus Gilbert Melendez as coaches. And I think it was in like March or April, and they didn't fight until late December, and they already had that date marked down, or it was early December, I think. They already had that date marked down, and we still don't know what's going on with Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. Why hasn't a fight announcement been made? And honestly, I've been thinking about it in the last month or so. Like, I don't think Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is going to happen. And I've held off making this video, and then Conor McGregor kind of made his appearance at BKFC, and I'm like, you know what? I got to make this video at this point in time. I may be wrong, but I have to make this video because there's so much going into this that's just really not being talked about. So when this fight or these coaches for The Ultimate Fighter was initially announced, most people speculated they would headline an event in September. Well, September, it's almost May. It's basically tomorrow's May. Okay, so we're looking at 4 months away till September. You think Conor McGregor's fighting in 4 months? So you can scratch that. That's off the table, and that's not even dissecting the USADA situation, which if the UFC issues an exemption, we're going to talk about that in a minute, it delegitimizes the entire UFC and the entire USADA program. You might as well throw it out. But that's 5 months away or 4 months away. That's not happening in September. So what's the most likely landing spot for Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler? Well, it's November. Well, November, roughly 6 months away. And usually that pay-per-view happens in early November, which would be almost exactly 6 months away from right now. And that's very important when you look at the USADA program and the limits on USADA and the randomized testing and the randomized testing pool, which we're going to talk about in a second. But I guess also maybe they could do it in December. Maybe December's the month. But it's just, there's been no announcement. The UFC just seems to be like dodging questions. They've been asked about it a little bit, but the media doesn't like to push back on Dana White too much. But if I had to guess right now, I think the most likely landing spot would be in November. Well, we just found out recently from Dana White at a post-fight presser, I think for UFC 287, but I might be wrong on that. He said, we are looking to do Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic in November. Well, I guess you can cross that out because they're not doing Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic and Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler on the same pay-per-view card. It's just flat out not happening. And even if you wanted to do Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler in November, you have to start looking at the USADA program. And I've talked about this in previous videos, and I've gotten a bit of heat from Conor McGregor fans saying Conor McGregor is definitely on PEDs. He's definitely abusing the system. And I know Conor McGregor broke his leg in July of 2021. And I understand that maybe he has to use something that is banned in the USADA program to help heal his leg. And I know there's been a lot of Conor McGregor defenders, the cult-like following defending him and not really looking at the facts. We're talking about an injury that happened damn near 2 years ago, okay? 2 years ago. And there's been a common trend, and this is almost a topic for another video. There has been a common trend among UFC fighters now, hint, hint, TJ Dillashaw, I think is doing it as well, of they retire, they leave the randomized USADA testing pool so they can take banned substances and then they will rejoin, unretire when they're ready to actually compete to get an unfair advantage. Well, USADA's protocol on that to stop that from happening essentially is they have a 6-month waiting period. So you can't just retire, get juiced up, use PEDs, unretire, and then get a fight booked in 2 months, still, receiving the benefits from PED use. Well, there's been a lot of talk, and Conor McGregor talked about it on the MMA Hour a while ago. I'll link a video I did down in the description where the MMA Hour eventually edited it out of the interview, and then they put it back in after pressure from fans asking about it. But essentially, they have a 6-month waiting period. If you retire and then unretire, you have to be tested randomly for 6 months before you can fight again. Well, if you're looking at Conor McGregor potentially in November or even in September, which that is pretty much off the table at this point, there's no way. November, he would literally have to join the USADA pool right now. Well, how many tests does Conor McGregor have in 2023? I pulled it up on USADA's website. 0. And I know some people are going to still say, well, what about the broken leg and this and that? He doesn't need to be tested and blah, blah, blah. Chris Weidman has been tested once in 2023. Chris Weidman was tested 5 times in 2022. He had the same injury as Conor McGregor, a compound break in his leg. Okay? So Chris Weidman's still getting tested. There's other fighters who've been inactive for longer who are still being tested. Conor McGregor left the pool so he could use banned substances potentially to heal his leg, which may have very well been likely, but now we're getting to a point where it's 2 years later. Is he really still using PEDs to heal his leg? I believe it's a loophole he's using to exploit and be able to gain benefits in hopes that the UFC offers him an exemption, which he talked about in the interview and the video I talked about that I will link down below, which the exemption is if you come back, you unretire, the UFC can issue an exemption so they can have you on a fight card sooner where you just have to provide two clean samples. And essentially what that does is, okay, well, you can cycle off, you can provide 2 clean samples, you're still getting all the benefits from using PEDs, but you don't have to worry about getting caught now because you have an exemption. You don't have to wait 6 months where your body starts to deflate and change. They famously did this with Brock Lesnar when he returned to fight Mark Hunt, and he still tested positive. They gave Brock Lesnar the exemption, which is what Conor McGregor wants. And honestly, if they book this fight in September and they issue Conor McGregor an exemption, throw away the entire USADA program. Just let everyone abuse PEDs. That is my take on that. Just throw it away completely. Get rid of it. It is pointless. If you're going to let people skip randomized drug testing because they're stars in your sport, then you might as well just get rid of the entire program. Just let everyone use PEDs. Just let it be the Wild Wild West like it used to be. So basically, Conor McGregor, if he abides by that 6-month rule, he would have to enter basically today to be able to fight in November. But we already know November is looking like it's going to be John Jones versus Stipe Miocic or John Jones versus somebody else, according to the UFC and Dana White. And then you have Conor McGregor, and we're going to take a look at some of these clips from BKFC recently, where you have Conor McGregor showing up at BKFC in the crowd. He's drinking his proper 12. Then he jumps in the cage and squares off with Mike Perry. And then it really got me thinking, could Conor McGregor eventually be in BKFC? And I think the answer is yes. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and we're going to talk about that. And also, for all the people saying that, because I've heard this multiple times, Conor McGregor, you don't know that he's cheating. You can't say that he's using banned substances behind the scenes. You don't know. There's no real evidence of that. Conor McGregor essentially admitted to himself, okay? He admitted to it himself. And I'm going to put a tweet up on the screen where Conor McGregor said, I am cleared for testing in February. I will complete my 2 tests per USADA, and we are booking a fight. What that says right there is I will have all the performance-enhancing drugs out of my system by February. Now, obviously, that wasn't necessarily true because he hasn't been tested in February, he hasn't been tested in March, and he hasn't been tested in April. So it's gone on longer than we thought, but he admits to it right there. I am using something that I cannot be tested for right now. I will be clear for testing in February. Essentially, he's saying I will be clean of PED use in February. Now, obviously, that didn't end up happening because he hasn't been tested. But I wanted to put that up there because a lot of people are saying, you don't know for sure. We do know for sure. He admitted to himself on Twitter. Now, on to the BKFC stuff. When Conor McGregor attends any event, the MMA media is in a frenzy. And they're just like, oh, we got to get pictures and videos of Conor McGregor. We can't believe he's at the event. You know, we at least can share some videos of him because we're used to writing articles about, 5-word tweets from Conor McGregor. Now we have him live in the flesh. We can write so many articles about him in the crowd. I want to show a video of Conor McGregor in the crowd at BKFC, and then we're going to react to it. So there you have Conor McGregor chugging his proper 12 in the crowd at BKFC. And the reason I wanted to show this clip, even though it's not incredibly meaningful, what I wanted to point out, does this look like a guy who has a fight coming up in 4, 5, 6 months? Does it look like a guy, he's out there just drinking in the crowd? And we've seen other clips of him, which I'm not even going to play in this video. We've seen him recently at the Tank boxing match. We've seen him at the casino afterwards, drunk, acting crazy, gambling. Does that seem like a guy who's returning from a catastrophic leg break injury and returning for one of the biggest fights of his career against Michael Chandler after The Ultimate Fighter? It doesn't seem like it to me. And there's been countless clips of Conor McGregor drunk, out at the casino, acting crazy. And he looks like he's probably over 200 pounds, potentially like 210, honestly. So Conor McGregor, not only, forget about the USADA stuff, is he even going to be able to make weight for 170? Dana White says it's going to happen at 155. Conor McGregor has been insistent it's going to happen at 170. That's a topic for a whole nother video. But the point is, it doesn't appear that Conor McGregor is in camp looking to return from a catastrophic injury that he's now had 2 years off from to fight an absolute killer and a savage in Michael Chandler. It doesn't appear that way. And then you have Mike Perry stop Luke Rockhold, bust up his teeth. Luke Rockhold quits in the second round. And then you have Mike Perry say, I want to square off with Conor McGregor. And then they bring Conor McGregor in the cage. We're going to take a look at that and come back and react to it. So there you have Conor McGregor enter the cage with a BKFC belt and square off with Mike Perry. And they say some things. Some of it you can understand, some of it you can't. I only put like a 15-second clip in there. But this got me thinking, and a lot of people asking, could we see Conor McGregor in BKFC? And I believe the answer is yes, but it's a matter of timing. Now, I don't believe you will see Conor McGregor in BKFC anytime soon. I don't believe you'll see him this year. I don't believe you'll even see him next year. But the reason I think it is a massive possibility is because when I look at Conor McGregor, in a weird way, I see Fedor Emelianenko. And I know that sounds crazy because Fedor Emelianenko is a heavyweight. He fought in Pride, considered one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, if not the greatest heavyweight of all time. But what I saw in Fedor is he was a star in Pride. And he stayed too long in the combat sports scene. And we've seen him get brutalized in Bellator time and time again. And what I see for Conor McGregor's future, and in this clip, or at least in the extended version of the clip, Conor McGregor says, I'm never retiring. I see Conor McGregor being one of those guys that sticks around in combat sports for literally year after year after year. And I know Conor McGregor has made so much money, and we're actually going to talk about the proper 12 thing in a minute. I know he's made a lot of money, but he also spends a lot of money. We saw that when he initially joined the UFC and started to get a little bit of a, big paychecks. He was spending all his money. I see Conor McGregor being one of those poor rich people who made hundreds of millions of dollars, but is spending in such excess that he's never going to be able to stop performing in combat sports, whether it be some type of celebrity boxing, whether it be BKFC, whether it be, at Bellator, PFL, whatever may be around in another 4 or 5 years. So I really think it's a real possibility that Conor McGregor could wear out his welcome in the UFC, constantly lose fights, lose a little bit of that star power, but kind of be where people still care about enough to tune in for his fights. And I can see Conor McGregor, age 45, 46, 6 losses deep, 6 KOs deep. I can see him in BKFC headlining an event in the next 4 to 5 years. I really see that next 10 years, really. I can really see that for Conor McGregor's future because he's going to need those paychecks. And I know that sounds crazy because of the whole Proper 12 deal, and I hope I'm wrong because I hate when we see fighters linger around for too long. I hope that I'm wrong, but it would not surprise me if you see Conor McGregor in BKFC at some point in the future. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is Conor McGregor in Proper 12. I have almost like a conspiracy theory. It's not really conspiracy theory, but I almost think Conor McGregor, and I know he sold Proper 12, the majority stake, but he still has an ownership percentage in Proper 12. So he is still making a profit from it. And also, my guess is there's some type of details in that deal that he will still promote Proper 12 because he is a key to its success. I almost think like he's signing on the dotted line to coach the Ultimate Fighter, and he's doing interviews and he's making appearances. Hence that video we showed you in the crowd. It's almost like he doesn't care about fighting. He just wants to promote Proper 12. He wants to make more money. Because if you watch any of his interviews, rather than actually answering questions and being interesting, all he does is talk about Proper 12. That's all he does. And I know there's a lot of fans that love Conor McGregor. I love watching Conor McGregor fight. But, you know, all he does is in interviews now is talk about his Proper 12 and promote his Proper 12. And I understand it's his business. He wants to make money. He has an ownership stake. But I almost wonder if he's like, you know, I know I'm not fighting this year, but I retire all the time for clout, essentially. How many Twitter retirements have we had from Conor McGregor because he feels like he's not getting enough attention from the MMA media? How many times has there been a big fight in the UFC and Conor McGregor's got to tweet out talking crap about the winner for attention? So it would not shock me if Conor McGregor was like, look, I know I'm not going to fight this year, but you know what? I'm going to accept this fight. We're going to make headlines, and then we'll push it back down the line just so I can promote Proper 12. Would not surprise me. I still think there's a chance you see Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor. I think it doesn't happen until 2024. If it happens this year, it will happen in December, in my opinion. In the casino, somebody asked him, when are you fighting? He said late summer. There's no way. We're in May right now, basically. We're we're in late April, but tomorrow's May, essentially. And I just don't see him fighting, in 3 months from now. He's not in training camp. He's not taking it seriously. Anytime you see him, he's out on a yacht drinking, doing coke. He's not in the USADA pool. All the signs point to he is not fighting. Another theory I had, and we discussed this on a live stream recently, is could Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler be pushed back to UFC 300? I think that could happen. Michael Chandler would wait for it. Michael Chandler was just issuing compliments to Conor McGregor for the last 2 to 3 years just so he could get this fight. You think Michael Chandler won't wait till next summer? Because right now, as the UFC pay-per-views kind of stack up, it looks like UFC 300 would kind of fall in April of next year. But I think the UFC would find a way to kind of space pay-per-views out to make UFC 300 happen in July, International Fight Week. And I think the UFC could say, look, Conor McGregor's, his leg isn't at the state that he wants it to be before he enters training camp. He's not cleared by doctors. They would say something along those lines. So we are pushing back the fight till summer of 2024. And honestly, it would not surprise me if that happens, but it also wouldn't surprise me if this fight just never happens. It wouldn't surprise me because all signs are pointing to that. We've heard no information. He's out drinking 24/7. And even if he does fight at this point, if he doesn't take this fight seriously, Michael Chandler is going to brutally KO him. And I was picking Conor McGregor in this fight, but I'm starting to switch back over to Michael Chandler because Conor McGregor just doesn't seem to care. He has all the money in the world right now. He doesn't want to go into training for an absolute killer like Michael Chandler. And I believe he handpicked Michael Chandler because he believed he was the most winnable matchup of notable fighters in the lightweight division right now. I believe that's what happened here. But I think there is a real possibility they could push it back to UFC 300 in 2024. And I'll be absolutely shocked if we get a Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler fight announcement and it happens before December of this year. So let me know what you guys think about all this down in the comments. Am I crazy? Am I missing anything with this story? But it just really aggravates me that the MMA media, they're too focused on Conor McGregor appearances and Conor McGregor tweets and Conor McGregor promoting his Proper 12. And they're not actually talking about what's going on here. We don't have a fight announcement. Something is going on here. So I wanted to make this video. Guys, do me a favor if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.